Well, if you're hanging out, the Reds just tied the game up in the top of the 8th against Pittsburgh. So I decided to go live and hang out with you guys for a little bit before we start the show tonight. But I'm Tim Daniel, for those who don't know. We'll do the regular show start up here in a bit, but want to at least take a chance here. Let's go live and let's watch the rest of the game together, shall we? It's 5-5 in the 8th, right? Local Luke strikes out, but some big at bats from Henry Ramos and Stuart Fairchild there. Love to see it. Joey scores on a double. Well, Joey got a double, you know what I mean. But pretty much a pain in the butt day. So let's see how this goes from here, and then we'll roll with it, right? Let's go ahead and send the thing. How we doing tonight? How's everybody doing watching the game on the Sunday night? We normally don't go against the games, but I guess this whole doubleheader thing. Um, but we'll live with it. I fully suspect that the bullpen is probably going to crush my soul in this game, but hey, what the hell? Who's live here's hanging out with us so far while we got this going on? Waiting for Ben to hop on. Maybe we can celebrate a win together. I hope so. I hate the Pirates. I hate them so much. The hate I have for them is pretty brutal. All right, so we got Steer in left. Draw this shenanigans. Stu in center. Okay. TJ Hopkins in right field. This is where I need Sydney here. Sydney was like, needs to be all hyped that TJ Hopkins is getting some playing time. Kevin Newman at third base. Yeah, they really pinch hit Kevin Newman there, huh? I don't know. Oh, we got Buck Farmer in. Okay. We know this is going to go. Come on, Buck. Let us prove us right one time. One time for the one time. All right. We got first strike. Cool. I'm watching on my iPad on the Bally Sports app, so I'm probably way behind everybody else. I'm sure this at-bat's probably already over. There we got 1-1 on Davis. Cool. Yo.
What up?
Oh, just hoping Buck Farmer can. Oh, what a play by Ellie! Did he get him? Nope. Took him out the bag. Ah. Just watching the game for the show, you know. Is he here, Chad? Do we have to? I hope we see Carlos Guevara September 9th because he's a fun guy, is what I'll say about Carlos Guevara. And also, he's the coolest guy from Texas I know.
Coolest guy from Texas.
Yeah. I mean, that is fair. I do have a couple of friends from Texas, but yeah, I'll give it to Carlos. He's got the chip. He's got the title.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So, you know what I really love when a team comes back to tie a game up and going to the 8th inning, and they say, "Let's bring in Buck Farmer."
I was getting ready to say the same thing. Man, it's really nice. We battled back. We tied it up. Now entering Buck Farmer.
Yeah, nothing says confidence like Buck Farmer.
Right. Is this where we're at, people? Is this where we're at?
Yeah, it is actually. That's exactly where we're at. I can see the live crowd is down a little bit today. It's the first time we've gone against a game, so
Yeah.
that's all right. Chad, by the way, if you don't want to put this in the show, totally no big deal. Doesn't hurt my feelings a bit. we're gonna do a regular show. I'm very excited to see how my team shakes out in this Battle of Ohio draft. I don't think you guys
Oh
are ready for
yeah.
this. I don't think you guys are ready for this smoke. Yeah. Also, far more people played for both teams than I remember.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm noticing is that a lot more people played for the Reds and the Guardians than I thought.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, oh wow. When I pulled up the page on baseball reference, it was like 219. I was like, oh, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's insane. That
Yeah.
is.
We're just gonna walk in. Oh, cool. Runners on first and second, no outs. We got to walk in. Buck Farmer. Uh, Buck Farmer.
Good old Buck.
How reassuring when you battle back, and that's who your manager has to bring in to keep you alive.
Yep.
In a game that you should win. I mean, they don't have a coaching staff right now. Literally, do not have a coaching staff.
Yeah.
So, this is annoying. I hate the Pirates so much.
No, that is a true statement.
Yeah. Yeah. I do dig that they're wearing the Homestead Grays jerseys tonight.
Yeah.
But now that I know that they wear those, I can't get a Homestead Grays hat. Yeah. Also didn't realize they were allowed to wear those because it doesn't have black or yellow in the uniform colors in that city.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like, I mean, Pitt has yellow, I guess. They have gold.
Yeah.
But yeah. You excited for the Battle of Ohio?
Kinda. I wish. I mean, if we win this series, it'll be a little bit better. But I mean,
Yeah.
if Buck Farmer does Buck Farmer things, then it'll temper my excitement a little bit.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, it's 9. Should we do like a regular show or?
Oh yeah, yeah.
All right.
Let's hit it.
All right, let's do it. All right. Hello, everybody.
Back at it.
My name is Tim Daniel. His name is Ben Brown. This is Late Night Reds, part of the Riverfront Network. If you are not subscribed to the Riverfront,
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
First time in the Late Night Reds on the Riverfront history that we are actually broadcasting during a game. Shout out this doubleheader in Pittsburgh, where the Pirates have had their whole coaching staff ejected. This game has gone back and forth insane amounts. Ellie De La Cruz hit a home run like 9,000 feet. Brian Reynolds hit 2 home runs, 9,000 feet. It's been a fun one, but we're just kind of hanging out now. It's 5-5 in the bottom of the 8th. Alexis Diaz is coming in to get 5 outs because What other choice do they have in the bullpen?
This is starting to become just a regular occurrence. We
Yeah.
were talking before. I mean, we were live, but we weren't live. But we're like, man, there's nothing that fills your heart with joy more when the Reds battle back to get it 5-5, and they say, now coming from the bullpen, Buck Farmer.
Buck
And you go,
Farmer. Buck
and you
Farmer.
go, and you just shake your head.
Yeah. And it's one thing if it's like you have other options that are good and you bring in Buck
Yeah,
Farmer. But that's the best option you have in that circumstance. So you don't have to
yep,
have Alexis Diaz throw 40 pitches.
yep, yeah,
Yeah. Especially after, the second game of a doubleheader. When you blew the first one,
yep.
you had a chance. You should have won that one.
So won that one.
If you had to take a guess, I don't know if you saw my tweets. Between these two games so far, mind you, we're still playing one. If you had to take a guess how they've hit with runners in scoring position
Oh,
between both games.
oh. If I'm gonna go by percentages, I'd say they're batting with runners in score position. Got to be like 170.
So they're 5 for 23. So let
Okay.
me see what that math is if for anyone there. Pat McGooch is back this week, Ben. He missed this last week.
Hey, what's going on?
5 for 23 is I don't think that's right. It says it's like 210.
It's
But
it's 115, I believe.
yeah, that sounds about better. My iPhone calculator obviously does not know what it's doing, or I just don't know how to do math. Yeah, but hey, we're gonna get to some stuff here. First things first. I want to, as always, make sure we give a shout out to our sponsors, our good friends at SeatGeek. This episode, as always, is brought to you by SeatGeek. SeatGeek is the app that takes the confusion out of buying tickets for whatever you feel like seeing, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, concerts, Bluey Live. Who threw that in there? Who goes to see Bluey Live?
Hey,
Right?
listen, you got a little one. It's coming.
Yeah. Oh, he's totally out. We talked about this on the Slack yesterday and the Slack channel that Bluey is like incredible. So I will go see Bluey live. But if you are going to go see Bluey live or keep on listening, we got a thing to talk about next in the next slide. You so happen to want to go catch a Reds game in September on a weekend the Cardinals are in town the day before Joey Votto's birthday. Our viewers and listeners get $20 off their first ticket purchase when you use our code RIVERFRONT. All one word, Riverfront. Because if you are holding on, you haven't used this yet. Bingo. Pat is speaking my language. So is oh my god, we got Bluey fans. We got Kylo, his 5-year-old daughter.
I love it.
We got Pat saying he likes bingo better. We got local Luke picking guys off at first base to get the second out.
Heck yeah.
Oh yeah. But with that being said, hey, how about you come hang out with us Saturday, September 9th at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll be live at the Stretch on the Banks in Cincinnati before the Reds-Cardinals game. You're going to see me. You're going to see Ben. You're going to see Chad. You're going to see Nate. And for all of you getting ready for the Who Days on week 1, you're going to see Greg and you're going to see Joe. You might not be as excited about seeing Joe, but I'll be excited to see Joe. I'm kidding, Joe. I love you. But going to be a really fun event. Everyone's going to be in town. We're hoping to see Carlos as well. Ben, we get to hang out with our Riverfront family.
Yeah, man, that's going to be dope.
Our Patreon listeners.
Yeah, dope. Can't wait.
I hear the food at the Stretch is top tier.
Oh, there we go.
So I'm going to indulge in some buffalo wings for sure. And then we're going to the game afterwards. So use that SeatGeek code so you can come hang out with us. Alexis Diaz did just walk. I forgot to see who the batter was, but Brian Hayes is now coming up to pinch hit. So that's frightening. So he's been really good of late. He was really good.
Yes, he has.
He's kind of awesome, actually. So we'll get to that here in a second. But if you guys want to see what's going on in the show today, really excited as the Battle of Ohio is here. We'll be joined by our good friends over at the Cleveland Guardians Fancast. Come hang out with us. Quincy and Quincy's going to come talk with us. We're going to do a Battle of Ohio fantasy draft where guys who play for both teams The Reds and the Guardians/Indians are eligible, but they've had to have played for both teams at one point. Pat is asking, is the stretch place a club? It's more like a family bar. It's like right between Paul Brown, Paycor, and Great American Ballpark. It'll always be Paul Brown to me, damn it.
Right.
So we'll be there. So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Chad asked the question earlier. Someone asked me today, would you bet the Reds make the postseason or the Reds finish under 500? I think at this point, I might say under 500.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, that would be me too. I would take that one.
Yeah.
Not that we're wishing that or anything, but that's I think is more the safer bet.
Yeah. What a play, Ellie. What a play. God, Ellie's been playing.
Hey, listen, that guy's going places.
Yeah. Yeah. We had the conversation today in the Riverfront Slack before we get into our topics here. I'll get your thoughts on it. So, we talked about this quite a bit recently with this is a maturation process, right? This dude is this young. And a lot of people are complaining about the strikeouts, and believe me, I get frustrated with the strikeouts too. So I'm not gonna it looks like they threw that breaking ball low and on the corner. He's gonna swing at it every time, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so this is his 54th game. He's had 88 strikeouts so far.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he's had 3 games with 4 strikeout games. So he's had 3 sombreros. But also on the flip side of that, 162 game span, he's on pace to hit 50 home runs and steal 30 bases.
Yeah.
So it's like, do you think this is what it is? Do you think we see this change? Do you think he just gets better as a contact hitter? Or do you think we're going to see him kind of be like this for a long time?
I think it'll change. I think with how aggressive he is at the plate,
yeah,
you're gonna have to accept some strikeouts. You're gonna have to accept it. I mean, that's going to happen. But if he can make a career out of batting 280, 275, 280, and hitting 50 home runs and stealing 30 bases, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
The good thing about that lineup is that you have other guys in that lineup that can hit for contact. You have guys that can do that. You have Matt McClain. You've got Steer. You got all these guys that can do that. So there's going to be a growth. He's going to get better. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. 54 games is merely just a smidgen of the games he's going to play in the big leagues. So he's going to get better. His pitch selection will get better. The things he swings at are going to get better because he's learning on the fly.
Yeah.
And just like a lot of those guys, they're learning on the fly. So I think that gets better, but I'm okay with of course, I don't want him striking out 200 times, which is, a lot, but I'm okay with some of the strikeouts because for me, it's a learning process. I'm not expecting him to go up here and be Joey Votto straight out of the gate. All those years that Votto had just an immaculate strikeout to walk ratio. Like, I'm not expecting him to be that guy. Not yet, anyway. It'll get there, and he'll get there. And plus, like I said, if he's batting 275, 280, and hitting 50 dingers and stealing 35 bases, I'm okay. I'm okay with the strikeouts, and
me too.
That I don't think that's going to be an issue because you're going to have enough guys in that lineup that can hit around him. And you got to think about it too. The better and more mature that lineup gets, the better pitches Ellie's going to see, or they're just going to stay with it. It's going to be so bad that they're going to stay away from him. Not saying he's going to be like a Barry Bonds, but people pitch Ronald Acuna Jr. different now than they did when he was a rookie.
Yeah.
Because now he can take advantage of mistakes because he's become a mature hitter. And I think that's the way Ellie will be. They will throw less mistake pitches. He will chase less mistake pitches, which means they're going to have to give him more hittable pitches. And once that starts to happen, he'll start to mature a little bit more. So I think it's going to get only better. I mean, I think it's only going to get better.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's a little worrisome but also I think like you mentioned, like Acuna, his first 50, 60 games, very similar.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Ellie still has a 30-point OPS higher than Julio Rodriguez, who I think a lot of people, myself included, like think the world of as a baseball player.
Right.
I'll tell you, I'm very glad he's my shortstop and not Wander Franco.
Oh, absolutely.
Whew,
Yeah,
that's not looking
absolutely.
good.
No, not at all.
But yeah, so I think that I'm with you. The maturation process could be a part of it. Matt McLean just popped out to start the 9th inning, so hopefully
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't go out. But let's go to this real quick. So obviously on Friday, the news breaks that Nick Senzel has been optioned to AAA Louisville to bring up Henry Ramos, and then Jonathan India apparently feels a little bit more pain when he's trying to hustle out and he has an injury setback.
Mm-hmm.
At this point in the year, if you're seeing these moves with these guys' futures really kind of being talked about quite a bit, I think it's a little bit fascinating and shocking
Mm-hmm.
that how things are working out. One thing particular here that's really surprising. I mean, Senzel struggled.
Yeah.
So, obviously he was in like 219, especially since he came off the IL. Really, really, really wasn't doing very well.
Mm-hmm.
But I still, obviously he's a guy I've been very high on. I've been a big fan of. That happens sometimes. But,
Mm-hmm.
India having the injury setback here. These are guys that a lot of people are wondering, will they be on the big league club next season?
Right.
I am starting to wonder, I think it's pretty obvious Nick Senzel's played his last game as a Cincinnati Red.
I agree.
Yeah. And look, both parties might need it. He might just need a breath of fresh air somewhere else just
Mm-hmm.
because of how things happen here, and I do feel for him because he kind of has been jerked around throughout his whole career. It's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you're drafted as a third baseman. Why don't you play shortstop? Why don't you play center field? Can you play second base? All right, cool. We're going to call you up. All right, we're going to put you in center field. We're going to put you at third base. We're going to put you in right field. Have you
Mm-hmm.
played corner outfield before? No. Okay, you'll figure it out. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
So I do feel like he's been jerked around. I certainly do.
Yeah.
But also, he hasn't hit the way that he needed to stay with the ball club.
No, I agree with that. And also too, when you have a young team like the Reds have, you start to figure out really quick the guys you want to build around, the guys you don't. And I think and unfortunately for him, like you said, he came up at a time where that franchise was struggling. They had no direction. They had no real leadership. Like they said, they moved him all over the place. He was up, he was down, he was, outfield, infield. He got consistent bats. He didn't get consistent bats. So I mean, they really kind of, like you said, they really didn't give him a fair shake. But then when he did get his shot, like he's not hit the ball as well as we thought he could. So I get it. I do feel bad for him because I do feel like he came up when the Reds were trying to find themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of became a casualty of that because they just were trying to plug and play him wherever, which isn't fair to him. But when you have like a young roster like this and you have all these guys, and I think these guys matured faster than they thought they were going to.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? So your McLeans, your Bensons, all these guys that you were thinking were a year or two away are now here. So now it makes a guy like Nick Senzel not only just exposed, but also it makes him expendable. So you're like, okay, we have guys that can fill that not only in our farm system, but now playing on the big league roster. We can go ahead and make him expendable and do what we need to do for our future.
Yeah, and I think too, man, I think that, if you look at post-trade deadline is when this kind of started happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's that Cubs game where like they're just getting the shit kicked out of them.
Yeah, no doubt.
And he's playing third base and he has a couple throws that are just like,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen him play really good third base. Like he's been very smooth as a third baseman when he's got the opportunity there. So I think like things just got in his head a little bit because there was that story that came out with Mark Sheldon. I believe it was Mark Sheldon. I think I'm crediting the right writer that talked about, they're like, he thought he was going to get traded. Scott Boras, Nick Senzel, David Bell, and Nick Krall all sat down and had a conversation where he said, like, I want to get more at bats. I want more playing time. And he said, like, I love it here. I would love to be part of this team. Blah, 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 all that stuff kind of happening there. So Yeah, it's just kind of really, really shocking to see how it all kind of played out because he was can't miss, man. Like, so Kylo says in here, like, not every guy gets to realize their potential, and that's the core reality of baseball hierarchy. And that's 1,000,000% accurate
Mm-hmm.
because Nick Senzel in AAA Louisville, the first time in 2019 when he was like, he just barely missed the big league roster because he got hurt coming out of spring training that year. Holy moly, man. Like, I thought he was going to be our part of this roster for 15 years and,
Mm-hmm.
playing in all-star games. Like, he looked all the bit of that guy in the minors. Was the number 2 prospect in baseball when he was called up. So it's a bummer. Pat says he looks just like he'd be a Kansas City Royal. I'm okay with that. I want to see him go somewhere where he doesn't have the situation the Reds have right now. Maybe
Yeah.
next year he plays for, the A's and he just gets a chance to play every day. He stays healthy. He hits 255, gets about 15 home runs, 20 stolen bases, finds a certain position he's going to stay at. And
Mm-hmm.
then you see in 2025, he's got a better chance to play somewhere.
Yeah.
Joey just struck out. Shocking
Yep.
that they did not do anything and they're going to the bottom of the ninth now. And Alexis Diaz has already thrown like 12 pitches.
Yep.
Oh, and Brian Reynolds, who has 2 home runs, is coming up, guys. Great, just great. Let's go to the Jonathan India side of this.
Yep.
So, this was kind of something we all thought for a year now. Like, is this it with Jonathan India? And the week for the trade deadline, the story comes out about the Reds will listen to conversations for Jonathan India, but they aren't necessarily looking to shop him. And at that same point, Matt McLain plays, they have all these guys who play shortstop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've heard this conversation a million times. I think Ellie is kind of set in stone as the shortstop. I think Matt McLain is kind of set in stone that he's the second baseman. At third base, it could be Steer, it can be Strand. I think, those guys are going to be your corner infielders for the future. Edwin Arroyo is coming up. Blah, 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 blah. Prospects. We'll get the catcher here in a second because that looks very more glim than it did in April. But I don't know how he plays for this team next year. If because we've talked about on the years past, like, should he go to left field when all these guys come up? And it's like, he's athletic enough. We know he's not good enough as a defender. And anytime he's not leading off this year, he's been very, very tough at the bats. I love Jonathan India, man. Like, I think he's a great leader. But I don't know, man.
Where do you like? I mean, there's really nothing you can really do with him,
right?
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel bad because I do give him a lot of credit for his leadership, and I do give him a lot of credit for what he did as far as giving this young group some direction. Dubbing them America's team, so I give him a lot of credit for that, like, because I think that he was a part of that, like, leadership. He just became the odd man out, It's funny when young talent starts to take over old talent, usually old talent is the one that gets kind of the shaft on that. So I think that with all this young talent coming up, we've talked about this a million times. The writing's kind of on the wall. You know what I mean? Like, it's on the wall. And I hate that for India because he's a young dude. He brings a spark. He does some different things. But
yeah, he's only in his third year.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He's a young dude. But I just don't see how he makes that roster when you have those two studs in the middle.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. And this is a team that has very glaring holes on the major league roster, right? I think if your game plan is, the Green Lodolo group, like, fine. I think Green, Lodolo, Ashcraft, Abbott are very, very fun. And then, you've got these other guys. I think Brandon Williamson was tremendous today. The Reds blew it for him.
Yep, I agree.
So if that's your idea or your rotation and you want to try that out for 24, sure. Okay. I don't necessarily think it's grand because they're all so young. I would love to have some veteran leader there to help them out, but that's neither here nor there. Bullpen guys, obviously, I think if Alexis Diaz is coming in with 1 out in the 8th, and he's your closer, kind of tells you everything you need to know about your bullpen, right?
Yep.
So that's going to be really
Yeah.
fascinating. We got an out in the 9th. All right, cool. And we got Brian Reynolds up. So let's make sure Brian Reynolds does not make the rest of this episode suck. All right, Alexis? That'd be great. So, yeah, and I just don't see a situation where, I don't think the Reds are going to – I don't think Jonathan India is going to be excited about the idea of you're the full-time designated hitter. This isn't the David Ortiz days anymore where you have that, right?
Yeah.
Are there any full-time DHs that I'm just not? I know not. I can't think of it. Nelson Cruz just got cut by the Padres a couple weeks ago. I'm sure there is.
Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, but that team, he's awful in the outfield. Oh my god,
that's what I'm saying. Like
he's a terrible outfielder. Is he it at this point? Because I'm just
that's
having
the only one I can think of.
Yeah, JD Martinez plays the outfield for the Dodgers a little bit. There's got to be one. I'm sure someone in the chat can come up with one.
Just hold on. Does Ohtani just pitches? He don't play in the field, though, does he?
Correct. All right.
So he's another one.
How many of them are there? Oh, just the best player in the world.
Right.
That's just that guy does it when he's not pitching. What did he hit his 41st today?
Yeah, dude.
Oh my
Incredible.
God. Yeah. He'll be so good for the Reds next year.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah. They won 2-1, but those people got an Ohtani bomb.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty awesome. All right. Well, let's get to. We're waiting for our good pal Quincy to come and hang on. Pat Magooch says India is the best make-believe leader ever. That's hilarious. So yeah, we're gonna have Quincy Wheeler from Guardians Fancast come on here in a little bit and talk about the Guardians, the Battle of Ohio series. We got to talk about that prestigious cup coming back to Cincinnati.
Absolutely.
I don't know if I've ever Grace's cousins when I was up there a couple weeks ago. Like we talk about like the Reds and the Guardians and they're playing each other. And I'm going up there in the September series, and it was the first time I'd ever heard a fan of either team say, the cup is still in Cleveland. And I was like,
you're like, huh?
How do you know that? Had no clue.
Funny.
Yeah. All right. Alexis gets Brian Reynolds out. Come on, let's get Kutch. Let's go, baby. All right. Let's talk about the catcher position because I'm very sad about this. Ben, if you had told me in April, I can bet on one guy on the current opening day roster to count on to be a consistent hitter who's going to be really good for the team. You can plug at the 4 spot. Everything's going to be fine with him no matter what happens with the team. I truly think it would have been Tyler Stevenson. I truly think if March 30th, you're like, hey, you got to pick one guy and they're going to have this great year no matter what. I think it's him. Yeah. I think that's the guy I would have picked because 2021, he was so good. Mm-hmm. So good. 2022, when he wasn't injured, mind you, he only played like 40 games.
Right.
Pat Magooch is the best make-believe cup either. Was really, really awesome. And I'm not giving up on his talent. I certainly think he's, he certainly looked really good behind the plate there for stretches. I certainly think he's going to be better. But let's look at this right now. So this is the splits going into tonight's game between Tyler Stevenson and Local Luke. And this does not have the defensive stuff on there. We all know Maley's a better defensive player.
All right.
I don't know if I'm at the Luke Maley needs to play more than Tyler Stevenson route. I'm getting closer to it. But should Local Luke be getting 45% of the games? Maybe 48% of the games?
Yeah, I don't want to say anything negative about Tyler Stevenson because I do think that he's, you know what I mean? But you can't tell me that you don't think that Luke Maley has had a good enough season to catch half the games. Like he's got 2 RBIs tonight, doesn't he? He's produced. When he's in there, he's produced. He plays a very good defensive catcher. How come they aren't? How come it's not 60 or 55-45? Or you know what I mean? I think that he's I think he's earned that. I think he's
Yeah,
earned that.
yeah, because he's Andrew Abbott's every catch guy now.
Right.
So there's that whole thing. Pat says they should use their prospects this offseason and go get Adley Rutschman. Sign me up for Adley Rutschman. Yeah, there's no way in hell Baltimore's ever going to let him leave Camden.
Yeah.
I think he'll be a lifer with the Orioles if they do it right. But that's still saying a lot. The Orioles ownership, you talk about people want to mock the Reds ownership, the Orioles ownership also. Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But, obviously you can count on Luke Maley to call a good game. Luke Weaver might have a 26 ERA if it's not for Luke Maley calling behind the plate. But the 200, the 300 nearly plate appearances split between the two. Maley hit that huge home run Friday. He's certainly been better in stretches when the opportunity comes. And I'm not sitting here trying to tell you like Luke Maley's awesome. If they do keep Tyler Stevenson around, which I suspect they will, I am fully all for keeping Luke Maley on the big league, on the Reds next year. So, hey, we're going to talk to Quincy here in a little bit. Like, you can tell you Luke Maley was huge for that young Guardian staff last year. Actually, let's go ahead. He's here.
Okay.
Quincy Wheeler.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing, buddy?
Good. Good to see you, Tim and Ben.
How's it going, man?
Good.
Good.
How big was Luke Maley for your guys' young pitching staff last year?
Yeah, probably underrated by a lot of folks. I think that we realized towards the end of the year that he was hitting about league average against left-handed pitching, and on our team we always struggle against left-handed pitching. So we were like, oh hey, that turns out pretty nicely. He's probably not somebody. I know you guys were just talking about this. I guess I would say he's probably not somebody that you'd want to play every day. But man, he's like perfect for a backup catcher, and does a good job. I mean, he's a good framer. It reminds. It's just the kind of guy that the Guardians like, that frames pitches pretty well and doesn't offer you a whole lot more than that. But he gives you a little more with the bat than you might think.
Yeah. I was in Cleveland in July for the Royals series. And I so happened to go to the game where they went against Greinke and Bo Naylor hit 2 home runs. And my wife's family are all in the area. They're from North Ridgeville. So I go spend time with them. And they were like, yeah, but he doesn't play all the time. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, they've mostly solved that issue now. He is the full-time starter for now. David Fry is kind of a utility guy we got from Milwaukee. He was starting to get some starts at catcher, so there was a little bit there where Bo would start like 3 times a week, and then he'd get Fry for 1 or 2, and you'd get Gallagher for 1 or 2. And now with Fry being hurt, Fry hits well and looks fine behind the plate. Gallagher is one of the worst hitters I've ever seen play Major League Baseball, not a pitcher. But again, he frames pretty well, so that's why he's the backup catcher, and Bo gets the majority of the starts. So that's good. He's not really – Bo is, 22 years old, so he's not really doing a ton at the plate, but he takes his walks, and every now and then he'll hit a home run or a double. He's doing fine. He'll be a good Major League catcher.
I was shocked the other day when I was looking at numbers for the Guardians, and I knew he was having a good year. I did not realize how good of a year Josh Naylor was having.
Oh yeah!
Oh my God! Yeah.
He really broke out. Yeah, it's unfortunate he's on the injured list with a little bit of a side strain right now. But yeah, he's definitely broken out this year. I think all of us in Cleveland are hoping they extend him not only for the offensive power that he's shown, but because he's really a great clubhouse guy. Seems like the guy that kind of holds everybody together. So plus with his brother coming up, Bo's, we're hoping they keep him around for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you were coming up, before you came on, we were talking about obviously the Battle of Ohio. And
what everybody's talking about,
this prestigious regular season battle every year. And it was brought to my attention. Do you know what team currently has the cup?
Well, I'm sure we all do. Is it Cleveland?
Yeah.
He's like, look,
we all do.
That's common knowledge, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's what they're saying on Sports Center. Cleveland has the cup, so the Reds have to come and take it. It was one of those things where they split the series last year,
Like
and Cleveland
3
got
years
to
in a
keep it.
row.
Oh, 3 years in a row? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I knew last year at least they split it and Cleveland got to keep it because they were the last team that won it. So that's happened 3 years in a row. Well, that doesn't surprise me.
And of course,
These series are so tight. These teams are so well matched. So.
There was the other thing I laughed at really hard and I didn't realize is they actually I should know better as a Reds fan, but they keep a Battle of Ohio. Check this out. There's a Battle of Ohio MVP every year.
Oh yeah, I did know that. And now I hope
did
you're
not
not going to
know
ask
that.
me who's won, but I do know. I do know.
I know Eugenio Suarez got it one year.
Yeah,
I'm sure Joey probably got it one year in the early 2010s.
that makes sense. Did
We
you
got
guys
to run.
win?
No,
Or
we
you
took
got
the
a
lead.
run?
No,
Okay,
good.
they went to third. God damn it, Tyler, get the lead. He only went to third because he's slow. Play Luke Maley.
I saw that we were coming on here and there in extra innings. I saw that.
Yeah, and this is like a doubleheader that was like replay. But before we kind of get into everything, so I did listen to a couple episodes of the Guardians Fancast this week after I invited you on, and
That's nice.
truthfully, really fun podcast. You guys are really knowledgeable about the team. Obviously, the personalities are great. Talk a little bit about the Guardians Fancast. You know, how hard was it for you guys to not be the Indians fan cast? Just stuff like that.
Yeah, well, we're all pretty pro Guardians here, so that was nice. As far as the name change goes, we were ready for that. But yeah, I last year I did about 5 days a week. This year I've been more like 3 days a week. Turns out that having 3 kids under the age of 4 cuts into your time a little bit. So if you guys score a run,
we scored a run.
You can always pause when that happens. There you go. So I do something about 3 days a week. I do a party line episode where I have a bunch of folks from Guardians Twitter that I enjoy talking to come on, and then I just try to check in and keep people informed about the team, do some analysis. I also write for Covering the Corner, which is a Sports Nation Guardians baseball blog. So those are the places where you can find. I just try to enjoy the game and keep people engaged and stay positive in general about the team, but not be afraid to make criticisms. So I try to keep the episodes. If I'm just doing it, my episodes are 15 to 20 minutes. If I'm talking to somebody, then we're usually 30 to 45.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, it's a really fun listen. So I listened to one. You had a couple people on. It was Monday, I think it was. You guys were getting ready for the Tampa Bay series. And Savali was pitching against you guys, which I'm sure was very weird.
Yeah. Well, he looked like Aaron Savali, which is probably good for Tampa Bay, but not tremendous. So as long as Manzardo turns out to be what people think he is, it's a good deal for us.
Yeah. Let's talk a little about this because, you know, the Guardians were a team that a lot of people nationally kind of expect to be really competitive in the AL Central before they knew what the AL Central was going to be. Obviously, I think, you know, a lot of us thought Minnesota would be good, Cleveland would be good, and the rest would just be the rest, right?
Right.
But, you know, with everything kind of happened this year, I know they obviously had some injuries with Bieber being out for a long time and things like that. But, you know, this was a team their over-under win total at the beginning of the year was 86, and now they're, you know, trying to get their 60th win of the year. What has kind of been, for us who haven't got a chance to watch them every day, what has kind of been the ups and downs of this team? And also, is anyone going to fight Jose Ramirez ever again? I don't think so.
Man.
I hope not. Yeah. I heard somebody the other day pointing out that he landed that punch while Michael Kopech was hanging off his neck, which shows you how strong he is. He is a strong man.
Yeah, I heard that he's going to fight Jake Paul next.
I'm here for it. He's out there settling anybody who's got a problem. But it seems like like I noticed that Jose was quick with the apology and try to make things right. He's definitely not the kind of guy that fights. That's what's so weird. He rarely ever gets upset about anything, but you dealt with that situation. For the year for the Guardians, At the beginning of the year, the offense was non-existent. There were rumors about maybe the hitting coach emphasizing contact over power at the beginning of the year, and so there was like no power at all. And eventually got quotes from him saying, no, we're not trying to do that. So I don't know if it was an adjustment, but the offense has been an issue all year long. As you mentioned with Josh Naylor, he absolutely went on fire as the season went on. He caught on fire. He was super unlucky in April, then caught on fire in late May, and just him and Jose carried the team for a little while, so the offense came around a little bit. But there's been big step backs from Andres Jimenez, a fairly significant step back from Steven Kwan. Both of them are super young players. They're still both doing good things, but it's like one of those seasons where things just aren't going the way they should. Jimenez is maybe trying to make too much contact instead of swinging as hard as he was last year. Kwan's trying to figure out how to keep guys from, just taking advantage of the fact he doesn't hit the ball super hard. So he's figuring all that out. And then there's some guys like last year, Kwan, Jimenez really broke out. And this year we're kind of waiting for some of those breakouts that will take place. Ahmed Rosario was around for who knows whatever reason, didn't play well all season long, was the worst defensive shortstop in baseball, and they started him every day. Miles Straw, I think, is probably hurt. He was an amazing center fielder last year, but his defense hasn't been the same. Yeah, right. No power for the Guardians. Lowest in the league in home runs for a while, and way down there in slugging and hard hits. So that's been the main story. But then, as you mentioned, Bieber got hurt. Probably even bigger for the Guardians. McKenzie got hurt. McKenzie really is probably the best pitcher on the Guardians and super fun to watch as well. Just an amazing player to watch. And him getting hurt and looking like, well, if he doesn't come back healthy in September, he's probably going to get Tommy John. That's something that's hard. So we're hopeful that he'll come back. It's not on injuries. The team hasn't performed as well as they should. The bullpens regressed some too. They can't seem to strike guys out. They're not bad pitchers, but they just don't get strikeouts when they need to. So you end up giving up home runs. So all that combined has led the Guardians to where they are. I think Fangraphs had them at like 82 or 83 wins in their projections. And I don't think they're going to hit that either.
The Reds were at 66.5 was their over under the start of the year. If they somehow pull off this game tonight, they will have matched their win total of all of last season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So, take that. And also the Pirates are like my least favorite franchise in the universe. So like I need to win this game. I need to win this game.
Somewhere on my in my Facebook cover photos, I have the Renaissance painting version of Yasiel Puig fighting the entire Pirates franchise.
The night he was traded for Bauer and is still playing for the Reds.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I imagine that there were some interesting conversations between Cleveland and Cincinnati front offices for that.
That night was so wild because I was watching the game on TV and it comes across the Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Indians make a deal. Yasiel Puig for Trevor Bauer, and I think Taylor Trammell is a throw into the trade going somewhere. Yes. And it's like, oh well, he's still playing, because normally you see a guy get traded during a game, you see the whole thing where they show the camera. I remember so well when Randy Johnson got traded from the Mariners to the Astros that he was sitting in the dugout, and they showed Lou Piniella go up and tap on the shoulder and be like, "Hey, go pack your bags, you're going to Houston."
Yep.
And there was none of that. And then the whole Amir Garrett thing happens where the Pirates players are chirping at him, typical trash Pirates. And you see Puig charge out from from right field, start swinging. And you're like, does he know he's traded? There's this clip where they show, there was a video, someone took a video on their phone of, it's Jesse Winker. And someone's like, hey man, Puig just got traded to the Indians. And he's like, what? Literally, he's on the field. He's like, for what? Yeah, we got Bauer, which Trevor Bauer not be part of the Battle of Ohio draft later.
No.
All right, we got to strike out on Sawinski. Sweet Daniel Darte.
Let's go.
I'm trying to think about different moments in the Battle of Ohio, since we're trying to make this a bigger deal than it really is.
I know a while, every year we would dread running into Brandon Phillips because most Guardians fans hated that they traded him, and knew it was just because he didn't get along with Eric Wedge, who
Yep.
didn't like anybody who wore their hat a little bit to the side. So,
Well, how do you feel watching Will Benson be awesome for the Reds right now?
Yeah, no, I know a lot of us. It's different, of course, because at the time it seemed like, well, we have to move some outfielders, and I guess we have to pick one. But I think most of us would have chosen probably Brennan. Well, it would have been close between Brennan and Benson for a lot of us, and definitely would have rather traded Gonzalez, that kind of thing. You have to take the trades in front of you, but I think everybody who's a Guardians fan loves seeing Will Benson succeed because he's an amazing guy. It's great to root for him. We wish they would have held on to him, but I guess only time will tell how that one turns out. But I'm glad he's succeeding. I always root for Will Benson.
Yeah, it's been really fun, and it was one of those things where they kind of got him on a flyer for Steve Hazard, and all right, you got Henry Davis. Henry Davis is really good, by the way. It's kind of fascinating how good he is. But they got him on a flyer for Steve Hazard, who they got in the Tyler Mahle trade with Christian Encarnacion Strand and Spencer Steer. So it was like, holy moly, this is pretty cool. And he's been, everything they want him to be and more. So it's been really great. Yeah. But laughing about, I don't know if you guys remember, Ben, you might remember. It was 2010 when Derek Lowe was pitching for the Indians. And him and Dusty hated each other, did not like each other at all. So Joey's in the box, and this is back in the day when Joey would get in the box and would just stand there. And I guess Derek Lowe doesn't do it on purpose, but he throws the ball pretty high up, and him and Dusty are chirping at each other. And Joey literally just stands there and holds his bat out like this, doing a warm up swing for a minute, just flat out not letting Derek Lowe get set. I was like, oh, okay. Of course, Adam Dunn, the walk-off homer when they're down 8-4 and they win it.
Nice. You do miss those kind of things with the pitch clock because they can't really do that kind of thing. I remember when Paul Bird, I don't know if you remember Paul Bird, but whenever guys ticked Paul Bird off, he would do that double wind-up thing and just just to tick him off because it was just so frustrating. When is he going to throw the ball? And I'm sure they can't do that nowadays either. Hey, looks like you guys maybe won the game, huh? Am I ahead of you? I'm sorry. You win.
Eat shit, Pittsburgh.
Congratulations. One more win, and you will not lose 100 games.
That's right. We're now 6. Yeah. And both teams really need a series going into this. Yeah. That's the other thing. So we were laughing about the cup earlier, right?
Right.
Both games are 2-game sets. So there's very, very possibility that each team goes 2-2 again.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Well, looking at this one, as far as from my perspective, you guys have done pretty well because you're going to face Logan Allen, who right now is probably our third best starter. So you're not going to face our 2 best starters. And then you're going to face Noah Syndergaard, who will either be super lucky or will give up 5 homers. So
he's been very up and down.
He's going to give up hard hits. I know that, but they might go at somebody.
Can we talk about that? Because I was blown away by that. So you mentioned Ahmed Rosario, who kind of had been brutal, but it's actually been fairly decent for the Dodgers now. And, getting Syndergaard back. And I remember I listened to, I think it was that podcast I listened to. You were like, well, he's an inning eater. He's not a very good inning eater, but he's an inning eater. And, I remember, obviously, we all remember Noah Syndergaard, Thor, the New York Mets. They're, just being lights out.
Yeah.
And even last year with the Dodgers, he was pretty good after they got him after, the trade. So what, granted, you're talking about 3 starts for your team, but what have you seen from Syndergaard that's kind of been so
it was really interesting. I watched his press conference after the last start, and it was really interesting because I don't know. You may have seen that he's had some pretty depressing quotes this year. I think he said that he'd give up his theoretical firstborn to get back to who he was, and he just pretty much hates how he's pitching right now. And in this press conference, he said, if I can just get my mechanics right, I know I can be the pitcher I used to be. And it's just like, Noah, I just don't know if that's true. And I feel like instead of embracing, oh, hey, I might need to lean on my secondary stuff to be more effective, he still hopes he can find that 99-mile-an-hour fastball. And I don't know, I'm obviously not an expert, and I just, can read stats and watch video and stuff, but I don't know if that's going to happen, but he certainly wants it to happen. Right now, yeah, he certainly is. Right now, he's kind of, just hanging in there by a thread, and he can throw strikes, so that's good. If he keeps guys off balance enough where they hit the ball at people, he's okay. But that fastball, most of the time is right there for somebody to pound. If they get a hold of it, then they will. So
it's fascinating. So I made this really pretty slide, so I have to show it off. Round 1 for 2023, the best of 2. No, it's not even right.
Yep.
But so yeah, you mentioned Logan Allen is a younger guy who I really, really like. Actually, I think this pitching matchup Tuesday is gonna be really fun. I think this is a really good. So Graham Ashcraft, for you know Quincy, he's been so good for like the last month and a half. Like he was really rough there for a bit. Went to the IL. Since he's came back from the IL, he's been tremendous. So he's been so good. So like this pitching matchup Tuesday, it's gonna be awesome. Is Jose Ramirez gonna be playing in this game, or will he still be suspended?
Yep. Yeah, he already served his 2 games, so he'll be back.
Okay, good, because I have him on my Dynasty Fantasy League team as well. So I had to make sure I got that in there.
He'll be itching to play. Yeah, and I mentioned that the Guardians aren't very good against left-handed pitching, so Abbott should match up pretty well there. Though I will say that they have acquired Ramon Laureano, who hits left-handers pretty well, so that might help them a little bit. But.
Yeah, Cole Calhoun. What's that about?
Oh, Cole Calhoun. Yeah, we're in our Cole Calhoun era.
Talk about a big name on Immaculate Grid.
I mean, the thing I'll say about Cole Calhoun is you can see why people love Cole Calhoun, because he's obviously like a baseball lifer type. He just, as Tito said after a game recently, I like the guy. He just likes baseball. He really likes baseball. And that's a pretty good description of what Cole Calhoun is like. They're like, hey, you want to play first? He's like, oh, yeah, I'll play first. I'm going to get up every morning at 5 a.m. and take reps at first, even though he's 35 years old. Because he just wants to play. He just wants to play baseball. Now, as a Guardians fan, I have to say, why are we giving Cole Calhoun like so many at bats? I think he's started 8 games now, when we could be playing some younger players and kind of seeing what they can do.
Like the one you just traded a starting pitcher for?
Yes, exactly. Well, that one is hurt right now, so we can't see him for a couple more weeks or whatever. He's got a shoulder issue that he's working through. He's supposed to be back in a couple weeks. But yeah, I mean, Gabriel Arias is the big one. You'll probably see him at short at some point. Arias is the guy that we really need to see some at bats to see what he's capable of, because man, he can hit the ball really hard. He can take a walk, but he's got a super high swing and miss rate at balls in the strike zone. And it's just so weird because he knows the pitch is a strike, and when he hits it, he hits it a long way, but he misses so often in the strike zone. And so basically it's like, can he figure that out enough? Because if so, he's like a Gold Glover at shortstop or third base. His arm's amazing. He's got a great glove. So anyway, he needs to get at bats every day, and yet they've been giving Cole Calhoun at bats over him, and I just don't understand it. I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you've got really good starting pitchers in AAA, let's just say Louisville, and your team's like, let's give Luke Weaver the ball every 5th day.
Right. Yes.
Dream Weaver, baby. Dream Weaver.
Yeah, there are times I just wish, most of the time when these things happen, I just wish I could sit down with like general management and just understand like what is the thinking. Just explain it to me, because it's the not knowing that kills me. It's not so much what they do, it's just not understanding.
Right.
I just want to understand the logic behind it, and then I'm fine. That's like with Chris Valleca, the Guardians hitting coach.
Former Cincinnati Red.
Yeah, there you go. it could be a choice in our draft tonight. He when he talked about their philosophy behind hitting, I'm fine. I'm fine with it as long as I understand what the perspective is. I'm fine with some of the struggles because it's part of the process. But when you just don't have any logic behind playing 35-year-old Cole Calhoun, who was a DH for the Dodgers in AAA every day, it just drives me nuts. So,
Ben, did you have any questions for Quincy about the guards?
No, my one question was about Noah Syndergaard because he's one of the guys that I really kind of like. I followed and I liked him like when he was pitching for the Dodgers and all that stuff, and then when he came to the Mets, and my biggest thing for him was like I was just trying to figure out if anything was different, but Quincy kind of answered that question with his velocity drop and the things that he's kind of struggled to do in low K pitches. So that was kind of my question, and Quincy's already answered it. So because I was really interested in that trade.
Is
yeah,
is
you
it
know, it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see if the Guardians can help him fix stuff. They do have a reputation of being able to help guys, and Carl Willis is kind of one of those. He's the Guardians pitching coach and used to be Boston's pitching coach. He's one of those like pitching whisperer guys. He's familiar with the data, but his big thing is that he can get guys. When you listen, he's fun to listen to because you can understand why guys love him so much, because he just tends to be able to say, hey, trust your stuff, throw what you can control, and tends to get guys to be their best selves. So, he could help Syndergaard over the rest of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a couple quick questions before we got to the draft part. Just about some different prospects. So, Brian Rocio has gotten a little bit of time with the big league club this year, about 12, 13 games. Uh, he's the number one Guardians prospect according to Pipeline. I think Pipeline sucks, for the record. I think there are much better plays to look at prospects like Just Baseball. But obviously he's there. What is kind of do you kind of feel like he's like the middle infielder of the future, like you mentioned earlier, with some of the guys who've kind of struggled quite a bit?
I think the middle infielder is probably the most interesting situation in Cleveland right now. Andres Jimenez signed to an extension. He's obviously got a spot, and he'll be fine. People that are worried about him just
I love
don't
Andres
know.
Jimenez.
Yeah, people that are worried about him for the season, they just don't know ball. He'll be fine, but he might be at second base or he might be at shortstop. So they have to figure out, because he could play either one and be a Gold Glove either one. They have to figure out who needs to be his double play partner, and they'll probably put that person at shortstop. So it could be Brian Rocchio, it could be Gabriel Arias, it could be Tyler Freeman, and then there are some other guys coming up in the minors. We just saw Jose Tena, Angel Martinez is coming up too, and Juan Brito, who they got in the Nolan Jones trade with Colorado, is absolutely tearing the cover off the ball.
Yeah, he's good.
Double-A, and he has a great eye at the plate. All these guys play either second base or shortstop. Brito is a second baseman, but the rest of them can all play shortstop. So it's an interesting question to see. I think that Pipeline's probably right that Rocchio's probably the number one prospect for the time being. The only issue that Rocchio has really had is that since he hit AAA, his power has really disappeared. In AA, he hit for pretty good power. He was showing the ability to turn on some inside pitches. He's not the kind of guy whose raw power is way up there, but similar to kind of Lindor and Jose Ramirez, he's the kind of guy when he's going right, a switch hitter, he can pull inside pitches out of the park. And that's what you'll see if you go back and look at Rocchio highlights. You can see him taking inside pitches and hitting them out from the right or left side of the plate at AA and high A. And he just hasn't been able to do that AAA. So the question is it just because he's 22 years old and he's trying to figure it out? It seems like this year he's been trying to cut his strikeout rate. So is he sacrificing a little power for that? And he'll find a little bit more of that. But if you watch him in the field, you can see why everybody loves him as a fielder. He's super smooth out there, doesn't have the greatest arm, but everything else about him works great. He could play third base and be fine. He can play shortstop and maybe be pretty darn good. And again, a switch hitter who can hit pretty well from both sides of the plate. The other thing about him is he's not super fast. He's, just solid speed. So all of that kind of adds up to the kind of player the Guardians tend to find is like a guy who's going to give you 2 to 3 wins and then has a really good season, maybe gives you 5 to 6, but mostly a 2 to 3 win guy. And the question is whether he can turn into more of like the Jose Lindor path of finding a way to really punish fastballs and pull stuff out of the ballpark or not. And I think that's up in the air. I tend to be a Rocchio believer and think he's probably going to be the shortstop of the future, but I think they should use the rest of the season to really take a look. Yeah, to really take a look at Arias, to really take a look at Freeman and Rocchio. Look at all three of them and say, hey, who's going to be our shortstop for 2024?
George Valera is a fascinating name for their system. Normally been a pretty decent average to good OPS guy. Obviously struggled quite a bit this year. What is kind of your thought process on what he's done in AAA this year?
It's probably mostly because he's recovering from hamate injury. That's probably most of the issues that he's had there. Yeah, you can see that his batting average on balls in play is way down from what it's been at some other times in his career. It wasn't great last year either, his batting average on balls in play. But it seems like part of it is luck. If you look, now that you can go on Baseball Savant, you can see that he's still hitting the ball pretty hard when he gets a hold of it. His walk rate's still fine. All that makes me think he's probably going to be fine, but it's probably just getting his strength back fully in his hand. So that's my guess. The thing is, Valera has never at any point in his career hit left-handed pitching, so he's probably going to be a platoon outfielder. Now he's the strong side of the platoon, so that's still a pretty good player, but that's something to keep in mind.
Cool. Awesome. Well, Quincy, the reason we brought you here, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready for the reason you brought me here.
All right. So, folks, since we have Quincy Wheeler on, we decided to do something fun here, some little gimmicky called the Battle of Ohio Draft. Sorry, Drew. I'm glad you're not watching today. There you are, Drew, in your Indians jersey. Good friend, Drew Stubbs.
There he is.
So the idea of this is just so the rules are players must have played for both teams at some point in their career. That could literally be like Sean Casey had like 6 bats as a member of the Indians kind of thing. So it's not like it's got to be like drastically like they Russell Brandon style, right? Right. We're gonna go 7 rounds. Each of us get 5 hitters and 2 pitchers. That's me, Quincy, and Ben. So the idea again, snake rules. So Quincy, obviously being the guest, will get our first pick because he decided to spend his Sunday night with us after he put his kids to bed. Totally get it. So Ben, do you want the 2 spot in the middle, or do you want the 3 to go to kind of wrap around since it's snake rules?
I'll take the 3.
All right. Ben will take the 3. Quincy gets the 1. Tim gets the 2. Quincy, who are you taking in the number 1 overall in the Battle of Ohio draft?
Well, I've been really staying up late at night thinking about this.
I knew you were.
Yep. I'm going to take Frank Robinson. I'm not going to overthink it.
There you go. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I will take Shin-Soo Choo.
Yeah, he's definitely was on my board. Choo.
Man, the 1 year he was here ruined leadoff hitting for the Reds until like this year. Because we were like, he gets on base all the time. We're like, this is great. Back in front of Votto,
and he hits home runs too from the leadoff spotter used to, yeah.
Yeah, then they just tried to play him in center field and it just didn't. It just
wasn't
good for him.
That was a debacle.
Yeah. Yep. So Ben, you got 2 picks here. By the way, while Ben's doing this, were you fascinated how many guys were on the darn list? Oh my God.
Not many good ones either.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's where you're at. You know what I mean? So with my 2, I'm gonna go Edwin Encarnacion.
Nice.
And I'm gonna go Asdrubal Cabrera, the Indian years.
Literally, I think Asdrubal Cabrera, if I remember correctly, had didn't have a single hit in his Reds tenure, and I think he had what do you have 29 at bats?
But he was a fantastic Indian.
He was apparently not in Cincinnati, but yeah, he's kind of an underrated player. He had some good years.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to take him here because he's my buddy and he's been on the show, and we're going to have him back on again pretty soon. I got to take the other end of the chew trade. I got to take Drew Stubbs. Let's just go ahead and
There
fill
you
up my
go.
outfield. I really want to see some balls hit some popcorn buckets, and Drew's the guy for that. So,
Oh, Drew Stubbs. I remember the brief Drew Stubbs Cleveland Indians era. All right.
Mhm.
you get two here,
Back.
Quincy.
Oh, I do. Okay, I get two. Okay, well, I'm gonna take Don Newcomb as a pitcher,
Mm.
because he had a pretty darn good career. I'm kind of
Nice.
going off of how guys' careers went, even if they didn't necessarily excel for the Indians and Reds. But Don Newcomb was a good
Yeah.
pitcher, and I'm gonna take Veda Pinzon as well.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
That's a good one. Oh man, I need a pitcher now. I guess I like my outfield so far. Well, I guess whatever the outfield is when you have 5 hitters. I'm gonna take Reds Hall of Famer Danny Graves.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on my board as well.
So I get 2.
Yep.
So I'm going to take pitcher Greg Swindell.
Nice.
And
Yep.
then I'm going to take. I had Danny Graves on my list. You just called it out, so now I'm trying to go through my list again because he was on it. We are going to go. Let's go.
Ben's the only of us actually literally pulled the sheet out and was
I
like,
did. I'm definitely looking at the sheet. No doubt about
Ben
it.
came to win.
Yeah, I'm trying to win this. I'm trying to win this thing.
He's not.
No doubt.
He's not
No doubt about it.
He's not just throwing out a mysterious Walker pick. Did you guys see that name?
Yeah.
Mysterious Walker. That has to be one of the all-time great baseball names.
That is Track down his baseball card.
It's a name and also it's a name and also that's something that comes across the police scanner.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go another pitcher, and I don't even know who this guy is, but he's got a 30 WAR. Jim Bagby.
All right.
Knock
Nice.
it down.
Oh, geez.
So that's Ben.
We gave Ben too much time.
Yeah.
Bagby was. I was like, oh, I can snag Bagby in a later round, and then Ben's sitting there figuring it out. Dang it.
So you took your 2 pitchers then, right, Ben?
Yep, I got my 2
right.
pitchers. Swindell and Bagby.
All right, I'm gonna take my second pitcher here. I'm gonna go Dave Burba.
Oh,
There
you go.
The classic number 4 starter.
Yep.
Okay, so it's back to me.
Mm-hmm. I should have wrote these down.
All
so I
right.
knew who I
Well,
got what.
it's there's a run on pitchers going on, so I'm gonna take John Smiley.
I thought about it. I was between
yeah,
Smiley and Burba.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, we got you.
Is my internet? Okay. I'm gonna take John
like
Smiley.
I was gonna take Smiley.
Yep.
Right. And who you taking for your next pick?
Oh, sorry, it's back to me. Yes. I'm going to take Buddy Bell.
Buddy Bell.
Oh, okay. There we go.
I like it. I'm a little
Tim,
torn here between a couple
pick.
guys. Last pick. I think have we got that fast already?
Yeah. No. My bad. Nope. That's.
I was like, damn.
No, we're good.
I'm gonna go Russell Brandon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I just remember I went to a game at Synergy Field, and he hit a ball into the red seats. For those who know what I'm talking about, and it was pretty awesome. Mr. Wad, we've already clarified that he will not be in this draft. Actually, we refuse to list him in this draft because he's not a good person.
All right. So
fair.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So I get 2. So just on sheer principle, because was one of my son's all-time favorites. That dude, BP Brandon Phillips.
Love it.
And then one of my personal favorites, Kevin Mitchell.
Oh, I forgot Kevin Mitchell played for Cleveland.
Yes.
That's a good one. Some bitch.
Both good choices.
I like it. So this should be the last round then, right? Yeah, I've got 4 hitters. Okay, this is our last round. You're right. I can't believe Sean Casey has not been taken yet, so I'm going to take Sean Casey.
There it is. Somebody get the mayor.
The mayor.
New Yankees hitting coach.
Yeah. Mr. One actually basically put all of my picks in the chat. Casey, Graves, Burba, Brandon.
Okay, so I've got 2 hitters left, right?
Yeah, and then we got a final round after this.
Okay. Okay, all right, I'll take Tony Fernandez.
Ooh, I had my eye on him too. Gosh dang it.
Good little run in Cleveland. Had a big moment in the playoffs and also a bad moment in the playoffs. And I'll take let's go with a heart pick here. I'm tempted by Bill Selby. I'm tempted by Tito Francona, who played for both teams and is now managing the Guardians. But I'm going to choose also Aaron Boone. There's a lot of managers. Billy Martin on this list too. A lot of managers on this list. Not particularly good ball players, but pretty decent managers. I'll take Jay Bruce because of 17, where he was great for the Guardians.
Oh yeah, Jay Bruce.
Man, the 20-game win streak, Jay Bruce.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, 22 games. Don't short us now.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah, because I remember, because he talked about 2 of his all-time favorite moments of his career were the clinch miss in 2010 here when he hit the walk-off for us to win the Central. And in one of the games in that win streak, he had the walk-off hit. It might have been the 22nd.
It was the 22 game. Oh, believe me, I know. Jose Ramirez hit what should have been a single, stretched it into a double for some unknown reason, and then Bruce walked it off. So,
yeah, one of my all-time favorite Reds, man. Love Jay.
Yeah. He's an awesome guy.
Well, I guess from my last pick, go Eddie Taubensee.
Like
Get
it.
a backstop back there for those for Burba and Graves.
Like it. All right, for my last pick, this is also another guy that one of my all-time favorites. Wasn't the greatest player, but just a favorite of mine. God rest his soul, Bo Diaz.
Bo Diaz. Gotta love it. Well, that concludes the first Battle of Ohio draft. I gotta say, folks, I like our teams. I would match our teams up with anybody. I'm sure we'll find someone who's mad at us for not picking someone.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There'll be somebody in the chat like, man, why don't you take? And you're like, come on, man. Like,
they'll be like, Johnny Vandermeer was right there.
So Quincy, around the dirt, I think this is how you and I maybe interact with each other for the first time. Is so around the home run derby, I put this thing out where I was like, hey, if you can pick the Reds all-time home run derby, who would you pick? And I listed like 8 or 9 names.
Oh yeah.
And like I didn't list Todd Frazier because you know I'm not picking Todd Frazier over Ken Griffey Jr. You know what I mean? Like I'm not picking Todd Frazier over Eric Davis. Right. And I listed like all these names. And you would have thought that I murdered Todd Frazier.
Listen, you don't disrespect the Todd father. You do not disrespect the Todd father. Not here. Not home run derbies.
They're like, well, you know, he won one. I was like, he won one in the new rules. Like, he didn't win one in the 10-out days. All right, like,
yeah, right. That I do remember you getting killed for that. Yeah. That was a good question, though. It's I got a lot of good responses about Guardians. That you know what I discovered was the vast amount of disrespect Guardians fans had for Encarnacion.
Yeah,
and I just have no idea why. Like so many, I put him on my list of guys that won the home run derby. People were like, he was terrible. I'm like, no, he was not terrible. No. The last year. The first year in 2017 is exactly what it's supposed to be. In 2018, he still hit a bunch of homers, but he looked like a 35-year-old first baseman. I mean, that's what
Yep.
happens, or DH first baseman. So anyway,
There's 1 year, one of his first years here, before he got traded for Roland. He like comes up to bat in a game. I think he pinch hits. It's the bottom of the 9th, and Jeff Brantley's doing TV that night, and Jeff Brantley's ended up incredible. Like, he's so good, but he's like, I don't know why. I can't remember who the manager was at the time. I think it might have been Dave Miley. He's like, I don't know why Miley's swinging him up here. This guy can't ever get a hit in a big situation. He crushes the ball. And Brantley is on the broadcast like, I was wrong. I wasn't right at all. We win the game. It was funny, but yeah, I loved Edwin. So that was really fun. But hey, Quincy, before we get out of here, man, again, thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit. We definitely appreciate you. Please take a second to shout out, Guardians Fancast, where people can find it. Your work, if people want to keep up with you during these 2-game sets this year, because the August and September series, so late in the year, by the way. But yeah, please take a moment to let everyone know where they can find you.
Thank you. Well, you can find Guardians Fancast on any of your major podcast platforms. You can find me at Quincy Wheeler 1 at Guardians Fancast on Twitter, as long as Twitter lasts. I'm also on Hive there at Quincy Wheeler 1. That's kind of where I probably will migrate over. It seems to be a kinder, gentler platform. But you can see there and find 2 or 3 times a week. And then I don't know why I'm cooking off there. But you also can find any writing that I do on coveringthecorner.com. Do about a couple articles a week. We're looking for a site runner right now, but once we have one of those up, we'll be producing more content. I'm sure we'll have some stuff up about the Reds series, and it'll be fun to see the Reds. And hey, I'm hoping for a 2024 Reds Guardians World Series. You guys can make the World Series this year too if you want. That's fine. But I don't think we'll probably meet you there till 2024. But that's the dream: the Ohio World Series, the Ohio Cup when it really counts. That's what we want.
Heck
We were
yeah.
1 round away at 95. 1 round away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, I know. I remember that. I was looking forward to that, but I feel like we got potential. We both have some pretty young teams with a lot of promise. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, folks, we're going to go and wrap this up. Thank you for a unique episode of Late Night Reds, between going on during the game, hanging out during a game, watching me flip the Pittsburgh Pirates off, wait till the Steelers come to town later in the football season. But don't forget, we are brought to you by our good friends at SeatGeek. Just use the code Riverfront and you can get $20 off your first purchase. And I'll have to remind one more time, September 9th, 4 p.m. Eastern. Come hang out with us at the Stretch before Reds Cardinals. We'll be there. Have a beer with us. Eat some wings with us. Talk some sports with us. Have a good night. Be sure to check out the Riverfront Bengals show this week as they get ready for week 2 of the preseason against the almighty Atlanta Falcons. And also check out on Fridays the Riverfront itself with Chad and Nate Dotson, our bosses. So take it easy, everyone. We'll talk soon. Go Reds.
thanks, guys.
Yep.